The Office is a rare instance of a very mainstream and widely known television program whose fame is actually warranted. It really deserves its recognition in an era of quality material being foregone by the limelight in favor of uninspired dreck. If I had to identify its greatest weakness, I'd say this show is full of out-of-character moments that don't necessarily defile the characters on the macro level, but stand out as distractions.
This ab workout is specifically designed to strengthen your core.
Typically, the throwaway reaction lines seem to be coming from just anybody.
Help you now.
If each of these lines was simply swapped for another character's delivery, that alone would make the show like a solid 9 out of 10. The implications that Dwight runs the farm, Schrute Farms, plural, single-handed with his cousin Mose,
Put the manure down!
while working at Dunder Mifflin where he never misses a day and is never sick, is unrealistic. He would need a dozen farmhands who should have been introduced early in the show, a few at the very least. You can encounter all these unpaid propagandists for the proletariat all over the world, claiming you can work 60-hour weeks and still make time for hobbies.
Never having to risk.
Speaking from experience, unless your hobby is to sit down and watch the frickin' Office, you won't get very far.
Nerf isn't cool anymore.
I've compressed and condensed time. I've bent it. You're crazy for thinking it takes 24
Any
hours.
attempt to dispute how many hours there are in a week, and the fact that owning few of them is crippling, is downright delusional and dishonest.
I am toast.
Dwight's fluctuating autonomy and masochism is also very interesting in that it is malleable, and he often contradicts himself, though it's done in a way that it is not unlike a real person, and I appreciate that. But there's not enough of this inconsistent nature being acknowledged and joked about by other characters. They also could have developed this into a more gradual and focused theme alongside his personal growth throughout the series.
Ready? Let's do it. Drop that sucker.
Nothing could be done to hide the California sun in every outdoor sequence. Very seldom have I ever watched a show that was filmed on location and said, man, this would be so much better if they just used a green screen.
No!
The only exception where the work kind of benefits from not being shot on location might be Fargo, because I choose to recognize that as an artistic feature alongside all the other peculiarities of it. But generally, that does a disservice to where it takes place, with the implication that it isn't worth capturing. Everything that wasn't shot on location should have been shot on location.
January 1st, bam, blood everywhere.
Well, not all of us are Michael freaking Scott.
Kevin revealing his admiration of Michael is a subtle detail that is funny, that could have been developed more, perhaps into the premise of a B-plot. Of course, I can't forget to address the main character, Creed.
Northern Lights, cannabis, indica.
No. It's marijuana.
Creed and
Joe,
Robert California didn't interact in any substantial way, which was a missed opportunity as the two most eccentric characters. There's enormous potential there. The sky's the limit. The character of Andy also has a sense of realness that I appreciate and find very funny. Just on the screen, of course. In real life, he would be nothing short of insufferable. But with that being said, the several ways that they disgrace his character towards the end, though he may deserve it, is just not an enjoyable approach. The resolution to when he was canned, or his failure to break into show business, would be finding his calling as a radio personality, for which he is literally the likeliest candidate. He's the perfect man for the job, Radio stations and the bureaucratic entities that govern them would salivate at the sight of him. They all have a mandate to broadcast an effete, dim-witted, and profoundly suburban wretch who is somehow even less interesting than the average person recounting the events of their mundane life, than promoting a plumbing and or HVAC business by challenging your presumptions of what the lowest standards for advertisement ought to be. They probably wrote the ad in-house in 5 minutes. The owner hired his daughter to do it because she expressed being kind of into marketing. She was the first in the family to learn to read and write. They come from a somewhat reputable locality within the worst quadrant of your city. Season 9 shows a great deal of discontent between Jim and Pam, and they even mention the possibility of getting divorced before they reconcile towards the end. Instead, it should have been left open-ended with some ambiguity as to whether they get divorced. I think that ties it together well. Michael's appearance in the finale was forgettable. He was like a ghost. The episode would benefit significantly if they gave him more to say or do to have a commanding effect, even if it was brief. He should have been part of the Q&A session at least.
Whoa. That person has really gotten him or herself into quite a predicament.